Welcome to another Tool Review Tuesday, where Lauren's still a bigger tool than I am.
Yeah, and don't you forget it.
It would be hard not to. Anyways, this is the Craftex CX512 6x9 belt sander. This tool gets used quite a bit in our shop. We're quite happy with it. It has some really cool features. It has the miter sled here, which you can then change the angle of the sled so you can get different angles of grinding, which is really helpful when we're doing, angle cuts and the roll cage, all that kind of stuff on our projects. This thing uses a 6-inch wide belt. That's pretty wide. It's worked well for us. It's really handy to swap these belts out. All you do is hit this lever, you take one guard off here, and you pull this thing off. We can swap between different belts. We just pick these up, but when you're doing something and you want something really aggressive, like the one you're looking at right now, that's a 36 grit belt. This goes to an 80 grit belt. And this one, I'm not 100% sure what it is, but I think it's 120. This allows you to go to different steps for depending on how much grinding you want to do. If you want to really hog some material away, you use a really aggressive one. And then you want to do some more finer work, clean stuff up, you can go to the 120. So that's pretty handy how easy it is to swap these belts out. It has a hookup for a vacuum in the back, which is nice. We don't use it because we don't have a very handy vacuum, but that allows us to mitigate the amount of steel dust that comes out of this. It has this feature too, where you can go vertical with the belt sander. That's pretty handy. It would be nicer if this was a bigger work surface, like a bigger fence, but it is still pretty handy. And you can then use the top of the radius here for when you're doing, radiuses. This thing also uses a 9-inch disc. It's a stick-on disc. We've just purchased some from Amazon recently, so we're excited to give those a try because this one's getting a bit worn out. You can really push the material into this thing and it really gets, hogs it out, cleans it up fast. The biggest fault of this size of unit is that this work surface is too small. We would like a bigger work surface. It's so handy to have a miter sled that you can change angles, but you can also change the angle of this table. So if we're doing compound miters, we can really clean them up and keep that angle or get it to the angle that we need it to, because our chop saw sucks. If you look at the other videos we've done, you'll see that we have a pretty bad chop saw out there. But yeah, that's the biggest fault, is that's too small. So we would like a bigger one. They make bigger units, 12-inch discs. They might make bigger sanding belts, like surfaces, maybe like a 9-inch or something. We've never tried one yet, but we'd sure love to. So this thing uses a 1 horsepower motor. Most of the time it's pretty good, but we have noticed that if you push quite hard on this belt, it does stall the motor or allows the belt to kind of slip. Something's slipping that stops the belt. So that's not so great, but that could also kind of be a user error for the size of the machine if we're pushing too hard. But that's one of the faults it has. Another little fault it has is the table that it's on. It's a bit wobbly depending on your shop floor. There's a lot of shop floors that aren't perfectly flat, and there's no adjustment in that. Again, with a bigger unit, that might be fixed. There might be some adjustment, and we could always put this on a different surface, but this is how it came, so we'd like to keep it that way. Yeah, we give it a 6 out of 10 based on those small faults, that the belt slipping sometimes, the work surface not being big enough, and the wobbly stand. But it does work. We have used it quite a bit, and we'd like to try, ultimately we'd like to try a bigger machine to see if it's better and if it can handle more of what we're doing with it. We spent about $500 on this thing from a company called Busy Bee Tools. We bought a few Craftex tools from them. They're pretty good. We're quite happy with them. Yeah, good for wood, good for steel working, any kind of sanding jobs you have, this is pretty handy to have. So if you guys are looking for something like this in your workshop, I recommend getting it. But on our end, we would like a bigger one, and we know that there's bigger ones out there. So maybe we'll get for one of these days. Other than that, that's this Tool Review Tuesday. Lauren's still a huge tool. See you on the next one.
That's me.